It's been a while since I've done any videos, and I think it's about high time I did another one. Been doing a lot of thinking with the trials that are coming up in the very near future. Approximately a week and a half, they'll start picking the jury, which I'm sure the federal government with Judge Gloria Navarro, she's going to do her best to pick the jury again. Not that she did such a great job last time. The 5 people that she forced upon us all turned against her, all turned against the prosecution. So, but what I really want to talk about is, I put out a post on the internet the other day about the definition of insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. Now, this will be the 3rd time that Eric Parker and Scott Drexler have been tried. And is the judge, is this court, are they actually insane? Is the prosecution actually insane? No, they're not. Here's what's going on. I've said this for a long, long, long time. They're either so prideful and can't stand to lose, or they're taking their directives from somewhere up above. And I don't mean God. I mean the Council of Foreign Relations, okay? The FBI, the deep state. There's a reason. Now, if you go back and look at my videos all the way back to, say, 2013, I talked about the world monetary system, the petrodollar, how it's tied to the US dollar, and how our military forces the rest of the world to use the US dollar. That's why so many of these wars take place. Going all the way back to Desert Storm 1, Saddam Hussein, who decided that he was not going to pay the US dollars anymore. Look where that got him. And Omar Gaddafi, same thing. He was not going to use US dollars anymore. He was going to go to a gold standard. In fact, he had already gone to a gold standard and was trying to get the rest of the world to go to a gold standard. And so our government went in and destroyed that country. And who's giving them that directive? Well, you can say Rothschilds, anybody that trades in the US dollars, the world bankers, they all trade in the US dollars. So now, we've had this other war going on for some time in Syria. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. Russia, who is connected to the Asian investment banking system, BRICS, is using gold. They're not going to use the US dollar. Okay? And when that pipeline that Russia's been working on for some time now is going to come down through Syria, it's going to go in the Mediterranean, and then the port of Hormuz going east, Mediterranean going west. Russia will be able to supply the world in oil and gasoline. Their reserves, from everything I've been able to find out, are enormous, mind-boggling enormous. And I've seen the reports that they will be selling a barrel of oil for $10. Wow. I could just imagine it's going back to 25 cents a gallon. So that's what the war in Syria is about, because if you look at the US dollar and all the regimes that it keeps propped up, all the governments, all these wicked governments, excuse me, that has forced the US dollar down their throat. It's called the petrodollar. And controls these governments. Literally, our government controls all the governments in the world but a handful. It doesn't control China. It doesn't control Russia. It doesn't control North Korea. And there's a few others here and there it doesn't control. So, but it definitely wants to control them all. How many times have we tried to start a war with Russia by taking over the Ukraine? You know, their only port that they have. How many times has this government tried to do that? Okay? Multiple times. Okay, how many times have we basically threatened China over the years? Many times. Hillary Clinton even said China's going to pay for what they've done. And that's because they were supporting the gold standard. Okay? BRICS. So now, with the collapse of the petrodollar, this government, this deep state, has gotten extremely desperate. And it's so obvious why they're going after the Western lands. So obvious. They need it for collateral on the international banking scam or banking scheme, however you want to put it. Because the US dollar is just paper. In fact, it's toilet paper now. All the elites in this country for some time have been putting their ill-gotten gains in offshore bank accounts. So now, those computer entries or that currency, they can't repatriate. It's impossible. There's a lot of reasons it's impossible. One is if you've got to account for that money when you bring it in. How are they going to do that? Because they stole it in the first place. Many different ways. But they stole it. Okay? So all that money, those billions of dollars, is toilet paper. Hillary Clinton's money in the offshore bank accounts is toilet paper. So many of our congressmen and senators that got money in offshore bank accounts, it's toilet paper. Okay? And so they're falling back on their hedge funds, which they got from stealing the ranchers and the farmers in the state's land. Okay? So all of a sudden, you know, they're looking at being as poor as we are. Which reminds me of an old saying, you know, some people are so poor all they got is money. They don't know God. And their God is the money. That's their God, is the money. Okay? And this is why they need these bankers, Federal Reserve Banking System, Council of Foreign Relations, the shadow government. They need the Western lands for collateral. Otherwise, they're all broke. They're all broke. Okay? And some of the throes that this country is going through is showing them that the only safe place they're going to have is down in their tunnels under the ground. Which brings up another point. All of these law enforcement agencies, please wake up, because you are above ground with the rest of us. You are not the real elites that are going to go underground. Okay, go watch the movie 2012. That kind of sums it up. All right, you got to have at least $1 billion before you can even play this game. Okay? So, and then of course you got all your senators and congressmen that aren't worth that much money. So, you know, their back is against the wall, and their only hope is to take that land for their hedge funds. Okay? And they're going to be up above, most of them will be up above ground like the rest of us. So you have all this jockeying for position, for what they consider their safety and their salvation. And that's why Judge Gloria Navarro and the prosecution in the federal courts will never, ever give in. Okay? They'll never give in. I'll guarantee you Judge Gloria Navarro, just like Anna J. Brown, has investments in land, in holdings within her hedge fund. I'll guarantee you. Okay? They don't want to lose that. Plus, their directives are coming from someplace else. All right? And they're not going to change. They're not going to change. And everybody needs to figure that out. All you U.S. Marshals, all you FBI agents, all the law enforcement out there, all the sheriffs, none of this is going to change. And you guys are pawns just like the rest of us. So when are you going to grow some kahunas and say enough is enough? You look what's going on in this country. Okay, people are rising up. People are starting to get their priorities straightened up, at least somewhat. But you look at all of the rebellion that's taken place, whether it's Black Lives Matter, Antifa, the 3%ers, or whatever. It's all because of this oppression that has been going on such a long time. And law enforcement, you really think you're going to keep control of everything? You are nuts. You are nuts. When this breaks, I mean really breaks, we're right on the edge. You're not going to get control over this. Unless you do one thing. You go after the real criminals. The real criminals. Like Judge Gloria Navarro, Judge Anna J. Brown. Right on up the ladder. All the way to the Supreme Court. All the way to the congressmen and senators. That's where the real criminals are. And if you don't go after them and reinstitute and support the Constitution of the United States, you don't have a chance. I'll tell you right now, you do not have a chance. All you police officers, all you sheriffs, all you BLM guys, all you forestry service, all of you guys are easy targets. You're simple targets. Look how many of you have already been ambushed. All right? And this is just the beginning if you don't grow a brain. If you don't go after the real criminals. I can't imagine a level of stupidity where you think you are going to control the people in an oppressive way. Because I'm going to tell you what, even the National Guard isn't going to support you ultimately. Okay? The National Guard is more constitutional than any of you guys are. So what are you going to do? I'm going to tell you. And you all live in the cities for the most part too. You're just as vulnerable as the rest of us. So, this message goes out to whoever, but most especially law enforcement. Open your eyes, engage your brain, and ask yourself, why is Scott Drexler and Eric Parker going to be charged a third time for the same crimes where it was 11-1 for acquittal, and yet this government is going to try them again? Why do you think that is? It's not that hard to understand. It's not that hard to understand. And you guys got a chance to put an end to this. To put a real stop to it. It's for your own good. It's for your own good. It's for the country's good. It's for all our good. You know? Wake up. Grow a brain.